Go ahead, Stephanie.
Okay, so I just wanted to expand upon what Mr. George had to say, which is getting back to humanizing one another, the community humanizing the law enforcement humanizing the community. In my position, I train a lot of officers, and I have to constantly tell the younger males, you know, we are all only one mistake away from being on the other side of the fence. And you need to show respect until the person gives you a reason not to. And I don't want to say give a reason not to, but long as they're being respectful, you shouldn't come in with a preconceived notion that this person is just completely bad and you don't even know them. They haven't even opened their mouth to say hello or go screw yourself. You just walk up to them and automatically it's all bad, but it's your perception and not the reality of what's actually taking place in the encounter. So, and as Mr. George said, us humanizing one another is accepting that this person made a mistake. Okay, now how do we move forward from there? How do we build a good working relationship that aside? Because it could very easily be situation reversed and you're the offender and this person, this person is in charge or over you in some capacity.
So thank you for that, Stephanie. Let me ask you a question. When you talk about younger officers and then them having preconceptions about different types of people, do you find that to be the case with younger officers exclusively, or is that across the board?
For me, I see it more apparent in the younger officers. The older veteran officers have learned how to do their jobs in such a way that that's not readily apparent. Every once in a while, you'll have bad apples, and that's in any industry. It's not just law enforcement. Every once in a while, you're going to have a bad apple that pretty much taints the whole organization. And that's an unfortunate side of that.
Well, and thank you for that, Stephanie. When it comes to this expression, bad apples, over the course of history, it's not just an apple anymore. We've got trees. We've got bad apple trees.
Well, you could say this.
I'm not saying that in one particular department, but the phrase bad apple to me really is a way of diminishing and softening behavior that some officers participate in. So for example, Derek Chauvin, 5 years from now, are we going to refer to Derek Chauvin as a bad apple? Or are we going to call Derek Chauvin a murderer? Because that's what he is. And I think that there's been, inside and outside of law enforcement, there's been a successful effort to use words to lessen the behavior of at times this criminal behavior. And it's not just one person. It's been a lot of people.
So okay, so to put what you're saying into perspective, I say a bad apple when you're saying it's trees, and I would agree to an extent that you have a bad apple, quote unquote, who now promotes and is now the sergeant, lieutenant, captain, administrator, and all along the way, they have not changed their thought processes or their perception of people. And so even though they're able to hide their personal biases to some extent in their way they do their jobs, they are tasked with training the officers under them.
Right.
And sometimes instead of correcting behavior so that we have good officers to, with a good intent, we'll have some officers that don't have the best intent or have incomplete perceptions, and they will continue to foster that instead of correcting it. And in the Chauvin incident, for him to be a field training officer and to have some history, some adverse history, it should have been corrected. And you could say that those in charge or in supervision over him, over his supervision, at somewhere along his career, had an opportunity to correct some behaviors. And again, it could be as you go along, you learn how to do your job and to not put your biases on full display. And it doesn't necessarily mean they're not there. I say I do see it from time to time, and I do make an effort to correct it when I do see it.
Thank you. And I want to make it clear that although we have seen over time that there's been trees of bad officers, there's forests of good officers that don't seem to have either the voice or the power to take custody of law enforcement and its culture to make it more reflective of the majority of good members of law enforcement. And that's a problem. It's been a problem for a long time.